Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about the sailors and the soldiers that are in the Persian Gulf. If you have not heard, ladies and gentlemen, they are starving. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. How the hell are you going to start a war? Start a war. And you don't think about supplying food to your sailors and your soldiers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what these knuckleheads did. See, this is what happens when you get rid of generals and you got amateurs and, just running things. But these are the same ones walking around here talking about some DEI and all that nonsense. The only DEI is Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. Y'all are dumber than a bag of rocks. Who doesn't know to feed the damn military? So they are literally rationing food, y'all, because it's just not enough food to feed everybody. So you expect these folks to fight for this nation and you not feed them. I got a good idea for you, Donald Trump. Why don't you take that ballroom money, $400 million, and send it over there so the soldiers and sailors can eat? We don't need no damn ballroom for the White House. The White House been standing there all this time without a ballroom. It's not a necessity. Feeding somebody is a necessity. So $400 million can feed everybody in the Persian Gulf. If anything, you should allocate that ballroom money so that you can feed these men and women that are in the military out there. It's bad enough you switched off the satellites so nobody can see all the bombed out bases over there. You're hiding it. And now to add insult to injury, these soldiers, and they had to go in hotels, and even those hotels they were in were bombed. They already been through enough. Now on top of that, y'all didn't think to get food out there to them. Y'all got to be the dumbest people on earth. You eat every day, don't you? But you think your soldiers and your sailors don't have to eat? But y'all always sitting around talking about some low IQ and DEI. No, nobody's IQ is lower than Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. See, your generals would have had all this stuff covered, but you got rid of them. Y'all think like idiots. You don't think like generals. You're not military strategists. You're a bunch of idiots trying to act like you know everything. There's a huge difference. But my heart goes out to the men and women in the Persian Gulf, and y'all are starving and they're rationing the food because they don't have enough for everybody. My heart goes out to you because you certainly don't deserve that. And I pray for our brothers and sisters because our people are in the military, whether we like it or not, that are out there. I just pray the Most High will help you through this most difficult time because Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, they are demonstrating they don't care about you. Didn't Donald Trump call people in the military suckers and losers? But you say all this stuff and do all these things, but you expect people to go out there and fight for you? I wouldn't fight for your ass. I wouldn't throw a stone for Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth or anybody like them. You wouldn't get me out there to toss a stone. You ain't worth it. So, y'all, let's get to this. And if you are a brother and sister in the military, or you got people in your family out there are Americans trying to send packages to their loved ones out there. But y'all, I'm not even sure if those packages are reaching them. People are trying to send food to the people they love and care about that's in the military because they don't want their family member out there starving. Can you imagine that? This government should be covering those things, not family members. I think that is a disgrace. It is bad enough you lost the damn war. And it's like at each turn, America looks worse than ever before. You just look horrible in this whole thing. Now the word is out across the world that you are not even feeding your damn military. And y'all, we would never know this if the service members did not start posting the pictures online of their food trays. It's not enough food for a toddler, what they're getting. That's how we know about this. The service members were posting on social media about what's going on. You think Donald Trump's going to tell us everything? No, he's going to just get on TV and keep telling you, we're winning, we're winning. Sound like a damn idiot. Him and Pete Hegseth sound like a bunch of damn fools. You couldn't have the worst two people in charge of this military than those two. You got the dumbest of the dumbest. But there are people sitting up here talking about he's doing a great job. Where? Where is he doing this great job? I want to know, where is he doing this great job? You bunch of idiots. Latressa Montgomery, thank you so much for the super sticker. I deeply appreciate your support from my channel. All right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. And a shout out to the service members that posted this online so that we know about it. Because mainstream news, they're sure not going to tell you. All they're going to do is try to shield and protect the dummies that are running the country. So y'all, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. So this is all the more reason why nobody wants to be in your military. And that's why y'all got to have automatic drafts set up, because you know you don't do these military members right. I heard the horror stories over the years when they go to the VA and the care is very poor. You haven't done right by these service members at all. And I remember even as a child, y'all, after the Vietnam War, I lived in the city of Philadelphia. We would go downtown. I can't even begin to tell you all of the homeless GIs I would see all over the place in Center City, Philadelphia. They would be all over the ground. They would be holding up signs telling you they're hungry. Would you spare them some money for food? It was a disgrace. And it continues to be a disgrace. All right, y'all. Thank you for the ones.
So, as we well know, today, April the 17th, Donald Trump said the Strait of Hormuz has been reopened by Iran. Now, there's a lot of controversy on his next moves. Here's a little bit of news about what everybody is talking about.
For now, the U.S. will continue its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, choking off Iran's ability to export oil. And meanwhile, tens of thousands of troops stationed in the Middle East are basically in a holding pattern as this is all transpiring. And the Trump administration clearly didn't exactly plan for this. Tonight, USA Today is reporting that some of the sailors and Marines on the USS Tripoli and other ships who are enforcing that blockade are, quote, hungry all the time, and published pictures of what they say are the skimpy meals they have been served. Emma's now reached out for comment from the Pentagon, and so did USA Today. We didn't hear back, and neither did they. But those
So to be hungry in the fields is a normal thing for somebody who is in the military. We kind of understand what it's like to have skimpy meals, maybe MRE for the day. You know, that's what they're meant for, a whole day. But a person can only live so long off of what the hell we looking at right there. Okay, a little bit more.
sailors and Marines are also said by the Defense Department to be ready to get back in the fight at any second if Iran won't make a deal.
So while our soldiers are going around hungry, trying to develop whatever energy they can to continue to fight this bullshit war, they gotta wait to find out. Hurry up and fucking wait. I hate that hurry up and fucking wait. To see their next orders.
And today, this is what they heard their commander-in-chief tell reporters.
If there's no deal, would you be willing to extend the ceasefire, or will the fighting resume, Mr. President?
I would say the fighting. If there's no deal, fighting resume.
Now, that statement came from Trump just hours after his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, explained exactly what fighting resumes would look like. And yet again, Hegseth is threatening potential war crimes against Iranian civilian infrastructure, saying, quote, "We are locked and loaded on your critical dual-use infrastructure, on your remaining power generation, and on your energy industry. We'd rather not have to do it, but we're ready to go at the command of our president at the push of a button."
So it seems like every time there seems to be some kind of a hope that this war may end, it does not look like it's going to end anytime soon. And unfortunately for our soldiers in the field, they are struggling and they don't care. Because he claims that the Strait of Hormuz is open, but he's still going to blockade. He's still going to do the same shit. Ain't shit changed. I think Iran is just trying to get us to work our way to their version of come closer.
War in Iran has already cost $50 billion, and this is what we're feeding our troops. Service members are telling their families that they are going hungry on ships deployed to Iran. This is a real photo of the food they are being served. Others have said they are rationing food supplies and don't have fresh produce. The American military, with a $1 trillion budget, is feeding mystery meat to our service members. It now seems like a
Now, my question is, why are you not giving the military decent food? That gray shit right there is processed food, y'all. That's processed food. What kind of diet is this for a soldier when you want them to fight for this country? Gray meat? Gray meat? Are you kidding me? Processed food? Okay, something is wrong with a nation that claim we know you're insolvent. Y'all lied about being the richest nation in the world. You've been lying about that too. But the bottom line is you should still have several $1,000,000 because that's what it's going to take for a military that size to feed everybody. Y'all, what is happening with our tax dollar? We're pouring all these tax dollars working in this system. Okay, we're pouring all this tax money. It's bad enough we can't even get our reparations and we pay taxes. But to add insult to injury, we're paying all these taxes and you won't feed the military a decent meal? You won't get food to them? And they're writing all over social media they're hungry? This is a disgrace. What the hell is this? Any of you that been in the military, what is this gray meat? Have you seen this before? My brothers and sisters that's been in the military, what is this gray shit? What is that? All right, let's go on.
members. It now seems like a good time to drop a reminder that in September 2025 alone, Pete Hegseth blew over $90 billion. $9 million of that was on lobster and another $15 million on ribeye steaks. Glad the boys at the Pentagon have luxury meals while we feed whatever the fuck this is to the people who are actually serving our country. Oh, and there's also reports that hygiene products are running low, but mail to military zip codes have been on hold since the war began. So even when families are putting together care packages of supplies, their loved ones aren't getting them. So yeah, if you needed another reason to be pissed about this nonsense war, there you go.
A U.S. service member has exposed the reality of life aboard one of America's most powerful warships. A viral image from the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, shows a meal that's raising serious questions. On the tray, a small portion of boiled carrots, a dry ground meat patty, and a gray slab of processed meat. Most compartments? Empty. The image has sparked outrage, especially given the bigger picture. Because this is happening while the U.S. defense budget is nearing $1 trillion. So what's going on? This isn't standard Navy life. The Lincoln, along with ships like the USS Tripoli, LHA-7, is deployed in a high-intensity environment in the Middle East. Calls, constant operations, and strained supply lines. Some say crews are constantly hungry, rationing food, splitting portions, and trying to make it last. Morale, they warn, is slipping. And now, a bigger concern is emerging. How will sailors sustain themselves if this continues? Because in a conflict zone, endurance is everything. Long hours, high stress, continuous operations, and without proper nutrition, fatigue sets in faster, focus drops, and performance suffers. Care packages, once a lifeline, are also suspended due to logistical disruptions. No extra food, no backup supplies, no relief. So how do they survive? For now, by adapting, stretching rations, sharing what little is available, relying on discipline and routine. But that's not a long-term solution, because even the most advanced warship in the world depends on something simple, feeding its crew. So why is this happening? Extended deployment without resupply stops, combined with the demands of ongoing operations, is pushing logistics to the limit. And that's where the contrast becomes striking. A near $1 trillion Pentagon budget, yet reports of empty trays at sea.
The government is intentionally starving sailors that are currently fighting over in Iran, and there's not enough attention on this story, and we need to talk about this immediately. Parents of sailors that are currently fighting over in Iran have reported that their children have not received any care packages that have been sent almost over an entire month ago. And while the USPS and the Military Postal Service has stopped services for military zip codes during this war going on, this is not your average delay of package. There's a much deeper story to this that a lot of people need to be aware of. These parents have also reported in times of sporadic internet usage, their children have contacted them to let them know that there's hardly any food aboard these vessels. They are at the point where they are rationing food, there's hardly any hygienic supplies left.
So even if you are sending a package to your loved one filled with food, they still ain't getting it. What the? No, at this point, y'all withholding shit on purpose. How the hell are these soldiers not getting their packages and mail and everything that came from their family trying to help? How are they not getting it? No, y'all, I have to believe they are doing this on purpose. They are doing this on purpose. So even if you try to help, they're still blocking your loved one from getting fed. No, this is on purpose.
For them. And these are the images that are coming out of these vessels of what they're currently being served to eat. Our men and women should not be forced to eat slop like this. And I don't want to hear nothing about, well, it builds protein, blah, 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 blah. This will be ate back during blah, blah, blah time. This is wrong. You should be able to realize that nobody deserves this. While they have the time to fly in multiple equipment every single day, why not fly in some proper food for them to eat? Obviously, they're not going to be eating a 5-course meal. They're not going to be eating a seafood boil. But obviously, they need something better than this crap. This is completely unacceptable what is going on right now. Share this video because everybody needs to be aware of the potential starvation that the government is intentionally doing to our men and women that is fighting over in Iran currently.
If there was ever a good reason not to join the United States military under the Trump administration, I think that this would probably qualify because Mystery Meat Wednesday has never looked so disgusting. And to be honest, I'd rather just go hungry than risking putting that thing into my body if I was a US serviceman right now. And this is just exacerbating the very low rate of morale in the United States military. They are literally having to ration food for our troops over in the Middle East because they were completely unprepared for this war that they started in Iran on behalf of a foreign country called Israel. And yeah, it does get worse. Here is a normal day's food. Here you go. You get one tortilla and whatever in the world that is, and then empty, empty, empty. Yeah, definitely not meeting their caloric needs, in my opinion. But I mean, I'm not a doctor. Just play one on TV. I actually don't even play one on TV. I just said that because it sounded fun. Anyway, I wouldn't join the military right now because that's what you have to look forward to under the Trump administration. That's what happens when you put a corporate guy in charge of our military. He's going to feed you like he would if he was a corporation.
All right, guys, this one is kind of shocking because it's kind of still shocking me, but the USS Abraham and the USS Tripoli are running out of food. Okay, so food rationing is happening heavily on these ships. And guys, like and subscribe. But this one is just weird because, you got your Navy midshipmen that are out there, you got soldiers that are out there. Trump just sent another 10,000 soldiers out to the Middle East. However, they're having to ration food. So out of everything that you can do, the strongest armed forces in the world, you can't get food to the people who actually need it. This one is embarrassing. And these guys are going to social media, and I'm talking about the midshipmen themselves. They're going to social media, they're showing you like this is all they can eat right now. And imagine the work that they have to do out there. Okay. I get right now there are peace talks going on, there's a ceasefire and all this stuff. That doesn't mean these people's work stops. These people are working constantly all day. And they're having to this one is a miss by the US government. They gotta find a way to get these guys their food, man. At least treat them right, man. Because this is beyond messed up. Oh, and by the way, they won't even let families send the food or anything like that, probably because they don't have a direct way of getting it to them. Maybe another reason could be that they have to go down the Cape of Great Hope, which is down past South Africa. They're not going through the Strait of Mandip right now, which is in the Red Sea. They're not going through that way, just for safety in case the Houthis. So that's also sending another signal. But greatest, most powerful military or force team in the world can't provide enough food for their. This is
Look at the disgusting food they're giving our sailors on a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier that costs $6 billion, the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is currently involved in combat operations near Iran. And then compare that to how Pete Hegseth has tried to portray himself as being all about war fighting. We're getting rid of woke. We're going to make ourselves, more lethal, more effective, blah, blah, blah. In fact, when it comes to the basic fundamentals of, quote, war fighting, he's terrible. He's the worst that we've ever had. In fact, what you feed a soldier is an essential component of winning wars. Remember, Napoleon said an army marches on its stomach. I can tell you, as someone who was an infantry combat soldier in the Ukrainian military, that is absolutely true. And the food they gave us makes this stuff we're giving to our soldiers and sailors look like cat food or prison food. I mean, that's like the insole of a shoe. It's disgusting. So you can talk a lot, but when you have the fundamentals totally lacking, it shows that you know what the hell you're doing at your job. And this is really, it's concerning. It's pathetic. On top of that, it's not just one thing. It's a symptom. For example, they didn't have proper drone protection or detection mechanisms for that base in Kuwait, where those soldiers died early in the war. That is a very basic, unacceptable screw up. You see Pete Hegseth's military from Donald Trump running these guys ragged to where they can't even give them decent food. Absolutely.
So it has been reported that sailors that are on the USS Tripoli and the USS Lincoln are rationing their food. A father by the name of Dan F. was alarmed when his daughter, a Marine aboard the USS Tripoli, a warship deployed to fight the war in Iran, sent him a photo of a meal served on the ship. A lunch tray, 2/3 empty, carried one small scoop of shredded meat and a single folded tortilla. Dan and other military family members are worried that their loved ones deployed to the Middle East are going hungry. They're filling boxes with items that they hope could serve service members right out prolonged deployments in the Middle East. So they're making care packages for their loved ones. In messages exchanges with him that he shared with USAA Today, the sailor said service members on the ship eat what they can and they divvy up food evenly when one person gets more than another. Supplies are going to get really low, and the crew doesn't anticipate any port visits until the ship returns from its mission, he wrote in a message on March 11th. As you all know, the Tripoli has been at sea for more than a month since it left its home port in Japan to join the Iran war. The 3,500 sailors and Marines aboard the Tripoli and its 2 accompanying warships are now tasked with enforcing the U.S. blockade of ships leaving Iranian ports. A picture of a mid-April dinner on the USS Abraham Lincoln, shared by a service member with his family, was similarly unappetizing. A small handful of boiled carrots, a dry meat patty, and a gray slab of processed meat. This is the food that they are giving our sailors that are deployed in support of this Iranian war. So besides the fact that these service members are having to ration their food, now the parents are taking matters into their own hand, trying to send them boxes of care packages to make sure that they have food. But according to USAA Today, the military says war conditions prompted suspension of mail. The U.S. Postal Service temporarily suspended mail delivery to 27 military zip codes after the United States and Israel attacked Iran. The Army said that there was no end date in sight for the suspension despite a ceasefire in the war, which means that none of our service members are going to receive their care packages from their families. And of course, the Pentagon did not respond to a request for comment on the mail stoppage or reports that some U.S. vessels were short on food. And since the Pentagon and DUI Pete Kegsbreath choose to not let the American people know what's going on, we are finding out all of this information from service members' families. Dan Ev's daughter told him in sporadic messages when the USS Tripoli reached a pocket of internet service that members are rationing their food supplies on the ship. Fresh produce was nowhere to be found. We are supposed to have the strongest military in the world.
Y'all, it should be considered treason what Donald Trump is doing every day out in this media. Every day. Oh, we destroyed them. Oh, we're winning. Oh, they don't have nothing left. They don't have an army. They don't have a navy. They don't have the Iranians. Oh, we took them out. There's nothing left. It should be treasonous for this man to get on TV doing this every day, and our service members are starving. For real.
We are supposed to be the richest nation in the world. And yet now, because of this illegal war, our service members are suffering drastically. Not only are they being put in harm's way for an illegal war, but they are also not being fed well. But yet, Congress refuses to stop this illegal war. And Donald J. Trump made a bidding of $1.3 trillion that he wants from Congress to add to the military budget. But if he gets that money, is it going to feed our service members?
U.S. military service members in the Middle East and Iran are complaining of having food rationed, inadequate portions, food shortages, no fresh produce. What? We're having U.S. service members that are stationed in the Middle East, in particular on the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, the USS Tripoli group. They're complaining that they are not getting much food. What the hell is going on here? Why is it that we can't feed our service members in the Middle East? How can we expect to win a war, if we can't even get food to the ships and to the bases and to the people there that are fighting on the U.S.'s behalf? Whose fault is this, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump? While this is going on, Donald Trump is complaining about the ballroom on True Social. You've got U.S. service members that are getting inadequate food and in a war that they shouldn't be in, and Donald Trump is worried about his ballroom. That's the whole problem now. They're worried about their ballroom, their money, their riches. They don't care about the American people, nor do they even understand anything that these service members are going through, lack of food. They don't understand about us at the gas pumps. They don't understand things we deal with because they're in another world on another planet and they're millionaire and billionaire land. This just goes to show it even further. Love to hear from my service members, my Democrats, my MAGAs, my cuckoos, my crazies, and the burned out labels. This is just wrong, just like this whole war is just wrong. And fighting with the Pope is equally wrong, Donald Trump. This is all your fault.
American sailors and Marines are apparently starving on U.S. Navy ships because Trump and Hegseth weren't prepared to start the war with Iran before they did it. These are some of the photos that USA Today got from military families. This is what sailors and Marines are eating right now, and they're rationing this. Trump and Hegseth started this war now a couple months ago, and in all that time, they didn't think that, oh, maybe we need to feed our troops. Military families have been desperately trying to send care packages to their sailors and Marines who are trapped on these ships near the Strait of Hormuz. But all of those packages and all of that food is stuck in limbo, again, because Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth didn't think about the logistical needs of a military at war. Folks, let me tell you, as someone who's been to war, when you get a clear sign that your chain of command, the people in charge of you, don't care about your safety and well-being, there is nothing more demoralizing than that. And when you've got thousands, maybe tens of thousands of sailors and Marines basically starving for weeks, while Trump and Hegseth get in front of cameras and talk about how they could do this war forever, being armchair generals and pretending like they're so tough, there's not a lot that's more demoralizing than that. The way that Trump and Hegseth are prosecuting this war is going to be disastrous for American national security for probably a generation. When sailors and Marines get trapped at sea for months longer than the deployment they were initially told that they were going on, and now they're left to basically starve and share scraps of whatever this is, do you really think they're going to re-enlist? When young people at home who may be thinking about the military are seeing stories about sailors and Marines going on extra long deployments and getting stuck on ships to starve, do you think they're going to leave high school and think about joining the military? The only reason that these sailors and Marines are starving right now is because feeding them is not a priority. We have already seen what the United States military is capable of. When that pilot was downed in Iran, the US military moved heaven and earth to find them. And I'm glad that that happened. That should happen. Now, it's my personal opinion. I think that feeding thousands of sailors and Marines is at least as important as finding one downed pilot. The Trump administration is not feeding sailors and Marines because they do not care about them. And they are hoping that the American people don't care about them, because rescuing a downed pilot from behind enemy lines, that's a really sexy story. Whereas feeding sailors and Marines, it's not going to get the headlines, I guess. So why do it?
So USA Today reporting that the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Tripoli are running out of food and that rationing has begun. They've actually got the quotes of a sailor saying supplies are getting really low and morale is getting even lower. Is this any way to treat your military? I don't think so. Folks, the source for this is USA Today. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
They're starving our troops that are sitting off the coast of Iran. You don't have to believe me. Look up the photographs. You're not eating as much as a preschooler at preschool. That's wrong. I don't agree with this war, but our troops deserve to be fed and fed well. And with all the billions of dollars that we're spending, can we not fly them dinner? Hell, macaroni and cheese is better than what I saw on those plates. This is the biggest embarrassment of my lifetime. Soldiers may have went hungry in the jungle, and they may have went hungry in World War II, but I'd be damned if they should be going hungry right now. Okay, you didn't pack enough food. Let's fly some in. Because our troops do not deserve to be hungry a single day.
All these people you see in comments talking about, I don't see any problems with them having to ration food on the ships out in the Middle East. I was in the Marines. They're the same ones that can't keep dumps balls out of their mouth. If we didn't have a drunk Fox News host that was running the Department of Defense that created a shit show, meanwhile, Bahrain's completely annihilated and they can't even pull in to get supplies. Hell, the supply ships can't even get supplies. We have like a third of the fleet there now and we're just sending more more for war. But you can cool believe that Dump's fat ass is going to eat some McDonald's delivered by a redneck MAGA granny. But at least there's $100 million for the Trump to Ark that he's getting ready to erect in his name, along with the $400 million to build a ballroom/military compound under the White House for when the shit hits the fan and he has to run and hide. But ships started rationing food as soon as they left, and service members were told that they weren't going to get mail, which is a morale booster. And then they wonder why military retention is going straight to hell. But hey, MAGA chuds, you're going to eventually choke on your daddy's balls.
A U.S. service member has exposed the reality of life aboard one of America's most powerful warships. A viral image from the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, shows a meal that's raising serious questions. On the tray, a small portion of boiled carrots, a dry ground meat patty, and a gray slab of processed meat. Most compartments are empty. The image has sparked outrage, especially given the bigger picture. This is happening while the U.S. defense budget is nearing $1 trillion. So what's going on? This isn't standard Navy life. The USS Abraham Lincoln, along with ships like the USS Tripoli, LHA-7, is deployed in a high-intensity environment in the Middle East. No port calls, constant operations, and strained supply lines. Families of sailors and Marines say food quality has dropped sharply. Meals are described as tasteless, portions too small, and fresh produce almost non-existent. Some say crews are constantly hungry, rationing food, splitting portions, and trying to make it last. Morale, they warn, is slipping. And now a bigger concern is emerging. How will sailors sustain themselves if this continues? In a conflict zone, endurance is everything. Long hours, high stress, continuous operations. Without proper nutrition, fatigue sets in faster, focus drops, and performance suffers. Care packages, once a lifeline, are also suspended due to logistical disruptions. No extra food, no backup supplies, no relief. So how do they survive? For now, by adapting, stretching rations, sharing what little is available, and relying on discipline and routine. But that's not a long-term solution, because even the most advanced warship in the world depends on something simple: feeding its crew. So why is this happening? Extended deployment without resupply stops, combined with the demands of ongoing operations, is pushing logistics to the limit. And that's where the contrast becomes striking. A near $1 trillion Pentagon budget, yet reports of empty trays at sea. It raises a larger question. In modern warfare, is enough reaching the people who need it most? Because in the end, war isn't just about weapons. It's about the people who operate them. And right now, those people are running on less.
All right, y'all. This is a disgrace. You know, it doesn't make any common sense. They are sending sailors and soldiers there, y'all, all the time. They're still sending people there all the time. Why not take one of those cargo planes and fill it with food and take it over there? I don't understand how you can get the people there, but you can't get the food there. Nah, that mess don't make no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And they said there are planes of military personnel going in there all the time. So what is the excuse for not filling up a few of those cargo planes and sending food over there? What's the excuse? It doesn't make any sense. So, no, the curses are definitely on America, y'all. There's no doubt about it. The curses are on this country. And the Most High is doing it in a way where the whole world can see how bad America is failing. The country is insolvent, and Donald Trump is building an arch that nobody asked for. And he's building a ballroom that is absolutely useless. All that money is being poured into things nobody even want. That money all need to be allocated and poured into feeding the military. Nobody gives a shit about no ballroom. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I pray for those, my brothers and sisters over there that are in this situation. I wish I could do more for you, and as you can hear, even if we wanted to send a care package, they're not going to get it. They're not going to get anything. So, so that is kind of counterproductive. But man, they are doing so many people wrong. They are. That judgment is mounding on this nation for real. Win love 3734. Thank you so much for the super chat. Somebody need to follow the money, Lisa. I have never seen that meat before, and I am a vet. Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. I have never seen nothing like that before either. And to me, that's not even appropriate to even feed your military. How you going to get some processed crap and throw it on some tray? KQB Fife, thank you so much for the membership. I deeply appreciate your support for my channel. Thank you, everyone that contributed to my channel. I deeply appreciate you. Yeah, it is. It is. But you know what? Y'all, the Most High is exposing this country. See, they did all that boasting about being number one, being the superpower. Oh, they're best. They're the best at this and best at that. And you see, he is exposing them for what they really, truly are. For real. And these folks always want the whole planet to believe they are the best ones to lead. They are the best ones to be in charge. And look at what happens when they are the ones in charge. Okay? You don't look like you're doing so well with leadership to me, and not to many others around this globe either. And see, I'm still standing on what I predicted. Eventually, nobody will deal with the US. They're going to be rejected by everyone worldwide. Nobody will want this country around. Nobody will want America to have a seat at the table anymore. You watch. I know what I'm talking about, and it will happen. John L. 941, thank you so much for the super chat. I've seen better looking food in jail. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And thank you for supporting my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Honey, Babylon done fell on its face at this point. Babylon have fell on its face and can't get back up. But Most High, keep showing us the real truth about this nation. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I deeply appreciate it, and be on the lookout for my next live. Shalom, family.